Now I'm going to hit broadcast. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Food Policy Council meeting. Let me introduce Susie Marshall, who's our council chair, and she's going to run our meeting today. Susie?
All right. Welcome, everyone. We're so glad you're here, and I am trying to navigate back to where my agenda is so I can look at that. We have some great folks today from Common Threads. Yes, Common Threads. Sorry. We have Raquel Perez, who's the Associate Director, and we have Chelsea McCall, who's a Program Director, and they're going to talk to us about their work. And we're also going to do a little recap for you of the Dig Deep Conference for Growers, and then also hear from our working group folks today. I hope everyone is hanging in with all of the COVID things that are going on. We know it's getting a little weary. I know I'm getting a little weary, and actually miss seeing people in person. We want to ask you to introduce yourself in the chat box when you arrive. Just tell us who you are and if you're with an organization or not. And any other questions that you have or comments during the meeting, you can also aim towards the chat box, and one of us will be monitoring that. And so we'll have also an opportunity at the end of the meeting to see if there's anything else that's going on that you want to make sure and share with the larger group. And I think that I've covered the opening housekeeping items. Again, we're really glad you're here. And so first up, we have two wonderful ladies from Common Threads. Again, Raquel Perez, who's the Associate Director of Programs, and Chelsea McCall, who's the Program Coordinator for Common Threads. Ladies, I'm going to toss it over to you.
All right. Thank you, Susie. I'm going to share my screen here. Oh, I believe I have to get permission to share my screen. Okay.
That should be set now.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna, bear with me here. Go in presenter mode here. All right. So, good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I just want to thank everybody for allowing me to be here, for us to be here today to present to you all. I've been working with Becca at the food bank, and so she was graciously offered to put us on the agenda. And so I want to introduce myself. My name is Raquel Perez. Like Susie said, I'm the Associate Director of Programs for Common Threads. And then I also have my colleague, Chelsea McCall. Chelsea, do you want to say hello?
Hello, everyone. I'm the Program Coordinator here for the Fort Worth and Dallas area.
So what we wanted to do today is introduce you all to who Common Threads is. First of all, just to give you a little bit of background, we are a national nonprofit that began in 2003. So we're fairly new as a national organization, but we're even newer to the Dallas-Fort Worth area and to Texas. We've been serving Dallas-Fort Worth for we're going on into our third programming year. So we're the new kids on the block. We're very new. I came from the Boys and Girls Clubs of Greater Tarrant County, where I worked there for a very long time. So I live in Fort Worth, and I joined Common Threads a year ago, this month actually. And Chelsea also joined Common Threads for less than a year as well. So what we've been doing over the past year is just trying to really strategize and get our name out to the community, because what we found out that when we both joined Common Threads, we weren't very well known in the community. So that was my first goal, is to start meeting as many people as I could. So what we do at Common Threads is we provide a nutrition and education programming. Over the next, I think we have maybe 10, 15 minutes. Tell me if when we need to stop, and we'll definitely stop. But we want to give you guys an overview of all of the nutrition and cooking programs that we offer, and just share a glimpse of what we've been doing here in DFW like I said, over the last few years. Some people ask us, well, why are you called Common Threads? Like, what does that name have to do with like health and nutrition? But one of our co-founders, his name is Art Smith. He's really one of the ones who came up with the name, and he said that our world is this large quilt, and the people are this fabric of colorful swatches that are beautifully woven together, like material that's joined together by threads, by common threads, and that's family and food. The family and food are really what binds us together a lot of the times. It what brings us together to the table to really share as a community together. So that's like a little bit about why we're called Common Threads. And our impact that we've had over the past year, particularly in Texas, but I'm going to talk to you more about, of course, what we have done in Fort Worth. We're in the 6 big counties in Texas. We do have our funding through SNAP Ed. So we're one of the 7 implementing agencies through the Health and Human Service Commission who offer SNAP Ed nutrition education programming. So, you know, this is just a glimpse of what we've done in Texas, but I'm pretty sure you're more particularly, more important is what have we done here in our community in Fort Worth. So this is a snapshot of Dallas-Fort Worth. They kind of, I live in Fort Worth, so I'm a big proponent of we are not Dallas, we are Fort Worth. So our organization kind of course, like many other people do, lump us together as one community. But like I said, I'm a Fort Worth resident. So in terms of working with Fort Worth, our reach this past year before COVID hit was a little over 1,000 students. So we were set to reach a lot more students before COVID hit, but that kind of put a damper on all of our, on all of our plans. We work with Fort Worth ISD very closely with their after-school program there, which many of you may work with them as well. We also are working with Clayton Youth, Campfire, and Uplift Education, and that's just in Tarrant County, and in Fort Worth. But we definitely have room to impact and serve more schools, more community agencies, and more partners, like some of you who are on the line with us. So we're actively building our partnership bank, and that's what we're here today to share what our model looks like, what we're doing, and then what we're doing obviously right now during COVID, and how we can make a deeper impact right now. And here's some
Raquel?
Yes.
Hey, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. We've got somebody requesting if you could speak up a little bit more.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I certainly will. Yeah, please tell me if you can't hear me. Sometimes I do have audio issues. Okay. Some of our strategic collaborations here in Tarrant County and Fort Worth have been really working really closely with Blue Zones. We've been working with Joja and her group, and it's been really, really helpful and able to introduce us to so many people, and also with communities and schools. It's Time Texas. Those are just some of our strategic partnerships that impact us here locally, and of course looking to see how we could strengthen that with some other organizations that might be here in the meeting today.
So some definite areas for partnership that we've explored with these different agencies or school programs are our student-based programs, which I'll tell you about in just a minute, as well as family engagement, professional development, and staff training. And then we do work on some special projects and innovations with different agencies as well. Raquel, if you want to go to the next slide. Yep. So in normal times, we have, this is what our programs look like more in the traditional pre-COVID settings. We do have our flagship program, which is our Small Bites. This is for our pre-K through 8th grade students. They can be in after school settings, during school, before school, with partners that are either school districts or community organizations. They are 8 one-hour lessons, and they're really flexible. So our curriculum allows for once a week, once every 2 weeks, once a month, just really wherever that nutrition piece can fit in. They are TEKS aligned with alignment in ELA, math, science, and health. We do provide a grocery allocation for our partners. Our lessons are made up of a nutrition instruction component as well as a snack making component. We realize it's really important for kids to have that hands-on experience with food. A lot of students may not know, or participants may not know, what these different whole fruits and vegetables actually look like. They may never have experienced that. So we really want to get them excited about ingredients and just being able to make their own snacks and have that kind of agency. So that snack making component is all heat-free, knife-free. So they're really simple snacks that kids can make. And our programs are evaluated, and they have been proven to be successful. Our next things that we offer are parent workshops and grocery store tours. So again, pre-COVID times, we come in to agencies or school districts and work to give parent workshops and grocery store tours. These are led by Common Thread staff. The Small Bites is actually teacher-led or staff-led. This is the only component that is taught by us ourselves. Each participant gets a Cooking for Life handbook, which has all of the material as well as meal plans in it. It's super amazing. There are 3 workshops that are 30 to 60 minutes long. Everything from the 4 P's of healthy planning to cooking with kids, and then really that good for you groceries, so how to grocery shop, what you should be looking for, that kind of thing. And then our last piece is the professional development and employee wellness piece. So this is our healthy teacher training program, where we come in and we can either do professional development, or if an agency is interested in actually teaching our Small Bites program, they also go through this training. And it's a lot of background health information, such as eating your leafy greens first, eating as close to nature as possible, and really just giving participants that extra basic nutrition education. So during COVID, we had to swiftly switch to the virtual world, as most organizations who do programming had to. So as we began to navigate this world, we made all of our cooking and nutrition resources available and free on our website, commonbites.org. So children, families, and educators could log on and see all that information there. Common Bites is our online learning platform. So we have a student route that you can go with that. There's tons of nutritional games. There's a family component where families can log on and look at recipes. Maybe their child comes home and they've been participating in our programs. And so the parents have recipes from the program and many more recipes to choose from there. And then for educators, this is where we house our curriculum for the educators as well.
And so what we've also done, pivoted during COVID-19, is, like Chelsea mentioned to you a while ago, that our Small Bites student nutrition classes are traditionally teacher-led. So we are providing the training and the access to the curriculum. But because of the world that we are navigating right now, we've actually shifted, and we're providing all of our programs by our Common Threads chef instructors, which includes a virtual Small Bites. We're actually in discussion right now with Fort Worth ISD to bring our virtual Small Bites to their students once school starts. And these will be led by our in-house chef instructors that pre-K through 8th grade with the nutrition lesson, plus the snack making demo is the demo by the chef instructor. But what we're hoping to do is get the recipes in, up to families and students ahead of time. And if they're able to get the ingredients, they can make the snack along with the instructor. We're also going to be including some activities, active movement with our virtual small bites. And then our parent workshops are now virtually as well. We've been conducting those in a lot of our cities here in Texas. So we're wanting to see if that might be something that some of our partners will want. We can offer those in English and Spanish as well. We don't provide any ingredients or snack making material for these virtual online lessons. It's just not feasible with funding. Of course, I'm sure everyone understands that, but ideally that would be what we were doing. And then of course our healthy teacher training. Chelsea has been working with Blue Zones and Fort Worth ISD. She's done about 3 to 4 sessions over the summer and reached about 65 teachers. But we're opening that to community organizations who might want to bring some training and development to your staff. And then we're also offering virtual cooking classes. There is a fee involved for our virtual cooking classes because they're not funded by our SNAP Ed grant or contract. So those are also available if anybody would be interested in that and learning more about that. These are just a few pictures that we are sharing. We held a virtual summer camp this summer, and we had the funding to procure all the groceries for the students who participated in that 2-week-long session. So I just wanted to share some pictures and highlights of what we did over the summer. And that's just our USDA non-discrimination statement we post because we're funded by SNAP and USDA. And then that kind of brings us to the conclusion. I know that we said a lot of information in a short amount of time, but here's our contact information. We're more than welcome. We're more than happy to share more information with anyone who might be interested in learning more. And if we have time for questions and answers right now, we could also entertain that. If not, I will hand it back over to Susie. And we can also share this presentation with y'all. You're welcome. Thank you all.
Okay. If you do have questions, you can pop those into the chat and we'll address them a little bit later because I don't see any questions right now. So we're going to move along. Next up is a recap of the Dig Deep conference for growers that happened just recently. And our past chair of the Food Policy Council, Micheline Hynes, is going to take us through that overview or that recap. Micheline, are you ready?
Yes, just a moment. I'm getting my screen set up. All right. All right, can everybody see the Dig Deep conference slides?
Yes.
Okay, so again, like everybody else, the things that we normally do in person have now gone virtual. So this is a rundown that Becca put together after executing our summer conference on gardening online for the first time ever. So that took place on July 24th and 25th. Historically, we have done it every year for 5 or 6 years now in person at the Health Science Center at the Met. And so that's what we're used to doing. We're used to providing 3 tracks for the conference, 1 for backyard growers, 1 for community garden growers, and 1 for, we call them market growers. It's people who are starting to scale up and they're thinking about maybe selling at farmers markets or not just growing for themselves and their neighbors, but growing for scale. So this year we took it online. The way that we did that was by using Eventbrite, which is a platform that we use for other classes that we offer here through the Food Bank and through the Food Policy Council. And we used Zoom for the webinars and the meetings, and YouTube's for the videos, which is how most of the sessions were put together. Becca put together these fast facts for us. We had 4 live sessions, all on Friday. There were, we had Slow Food CFW present. We had, I'm trying to remember all of them. We had a session on getting started at a farmer's market, and we had a couple other live sessions as well. We had over 23 recorded video sessions. Those were really wonderful. We got speakers from further, across the North Texas area, speakers that normally might not have made it out to the conference, and really a great variety of session topics there. And it was really cool because by using a video format, we got to go into people's front yards and backyards that normally they wouldn't bring, 150 conference attendees out to their house to see. We had several breakout sessions and some Q&A sessions. Those were all done on Saturday, some virtual vendors. And overall, we had almost 300 different individuals reserve a spot and register via Eventbrite. So that's more than twice what we normally have had in the past. So broader reach, more topics than ever. These are just some of the things that were the outcomes of taking it online. So what are we going to do with all this great content? So we had all those people who got to experience that content between July 24th and August 1st. And now everything is available on the Food Policy Council website. So you can find literally every session linked there on that page. And I'm gonna switch my screen share for just a second and show you that page, and I'll be brief. Let me pull that up. Oops. Here we go. Sorry, I'm not very fast at this. But this is what the conference looks like here on the Food Policy Council page. So when you go to resources and reports, you go all the way down to this year's conference, and you can see all of the conference sessions. There's 2 virtual garden tours, the vendor tables, further reading, and then in these conference sessions, each session has a little summary, and you can click the link to view the session. Some of them also have handouts, so there's a ton of information here for everybody. One of my favorites, of course, was this. This was a home view of their front yard and backyard. Susan Barker, who's one of our gardeners on staff here and also has a garden at home. So it was very, very cool to get to see that. All right, I'm going to stop share and we can move on to the next topic.
All right, thanks, Micheline, for that. So you can still find that information on the Food Policy Council website. And I want to give big thanks to Becca Knutson for putting all of that together. She did a fantastic job of managing and directing and overseeing and making it all happen. And also, I don't think I actually gave a good thanks to Raquel and Chelsea of Common Threads for sharing their information. I want to thank you guys for being here. How long is the stuff going to be on the conference stuff going to be on the website? I think it's going to be up for a while. Is that correct, Micheline?
At least a year. We will leave it up at least until we do the next conference.
So that's available if you have folks looking for information on gardening, getting in, growing their food. That's a great resource, a place to start for real life people in North Texas that are growing food. Which I'm not sure we have like just a readily available stash of information. So maybe we'll start a trend in that. Okay, we're gonna move into some of our working group reports now. And first up is gonna be our Community Gardens and Urban Agriculture Working Group with Dave Aftendillian.
All right. Hello, everybody. This is Dave. I am at TCU in anthropology, and I chair our working group on community gardens and urban agriculture. We're all volunteers, so we can't sort of create programs and implement them. But what we focus on is doing things like making lesson plans and then helping people find teachers for those plans. We have a 3-part backyard gardening program that we developed, and master gardeners have been very kind in volunteering to help us teach that in communities that would like to learn how to grow for themselves. And then some folks said, well, what if I don't have a backyard? So we developed a container gardening curriculum, and we've had that taught as well. What kind of gardeners do we connect with? Backyard gardeners, community gardeners, market gardeners, and also school gardens. There are a number of schools in our area that have gardens. Some of them are organized through the Outteach nonprofit. So they provide gardens, so there's an application process for low-income elementary schools. But there's a lot of other schools in the area that have them. So I'll get back to the schools in just a second. But basically, we're an information hub. As Susie just mentioned, it can be kind of hard to find the info you want. You know, say you want to start a community garden. Well, how do I do that? You can start with us, and we'll be happy to help connect you to resources and people and other community gardens who can advise you on how to go about that. If you're having a problem with composting, right, we can connect you to resources on how to do that. So we try to be good as being an information hub. We also try to develop partnerships. And this is something that our Food Policy Council as a whole tries to do, right? Why are we here? Well, so we can all be together and learn from each other and have connections that'll help us address issues and challenges as they arise. So we love building partnerships. So that's another thing that we do. We also have a list of North Texas gardening resources that we've put together over the years. Those are available on our website, tarrantcountyfoodpolicycouncil.org. If you just click on resources and reports, you'll see our backyard garden plans, lesson plans. And then if you do the drop-down menu, you can go to gardening resources. And there's book recommendations, websites that you can go to for more information, a lot of stuff there. Current projects, we're working on, I mentioned school gardens. No one really knows all the school gardens who are out there and which are active and which are not active. Who is the contact person? Would they be willing to have people in the community volunteer to help them? Is that something they're open to? So we're working on that list, and ideally, if the school feels this is appropriate, we'd like to include them in our local food North Texas food map, which is also on our website. And the idea is to try to connect anyone in a neighborhood who's interested in gardening with each other. A lot of the schools, for example, the school year doesn't line up perfectly with the best growing seasons here. So who takes care of things when the school is out of session? Well, often it's a volunteer teacher or a staff person, which is kind of a burden for them. So if there's someone in their neighborhood who might be willing to help, that might be very useful for that school. So we're working on a list of schools. Becca Knutson, and in partnership with the city of Fort Worth, has been trying to connect community gardens with local resources of compost. So we don't talk about dirt, we talk about soil, right? Soil is alive. And if you want to grow stuff in it, you have to feed it. You have to keep it happy. So compost is one way to do that. But it's hard to get enough of compost. And so there are, for example, coffee shops that have coffee grounds available every single day. And they would actually like to get rid of those because that saves them on waste disposal costs. Gardens would like those because coffee grounds are high in nitrogen, which we like our plants, which our plants like to eat, right? And so that's another project that we're doing. And there's often a piece where volunteers could be very helpful in transporting the compostables from the source, which is often going to be a coffee shop or a restaurant or maybe a school, to the garden. That takes a truck maybe, it takes a little bit of labor. And so that's something that we always need help with. We also partner and try to support a collective of urban farmers in Southeast Fort Worth called Grow Southeast. So that's an ongoing project. And Becca and Harrison Gibson co-edit our monthly gardening newsletter, which will have things like seasonal gardening tips, recipes. Our current issue has a fantastic looking watermelon cocktail recipe, which could be an adult beverage or could just be fruit juice. It's up to you. And a lot of good articles. Harrison has an article about a big pest that affects peach trees locally in this issue. So that's something we do every month. We have dreams. We would love at some point, once the pandemic lets up, to be able to catalyze tours of local community gardens and urban farms. And the idea here would be to show some of the gardens and farms that are doing great stuff so that we can learn from them, right? So if a particular garden has a great composting initiative, we could see that. If they have a really good way to grow tomatoes, we would all love to see that. For example, Charlie Blaylock, who's a member of our group and a member of the board of the Food Policy Council, he does an amazing job growing a lot of organic produce on a small piece of land. How does he do it? What is his magic, right? So we could go and see. So that's one thing we're hoping to work on. And again, all of this we need help with, right? So I'm going to come back to that momentarily. And a long-term dream of mine, and others share it, is we would love to help have a gardening program for kids beyond the Junior Master Gardener program, you know? So how really can you grow produce? How can you sell it, right? So there could be an entrepreneurship component. How does the available of fresh produce, how does the lack of availability of fresh produce, what are the justice aspects of that? Why do some neighborhoods have easy access to places to buy fresh fruits and vegetables and others do not? And what can we do about it, right? So this is something that would ideally involve some paid internship opportunities, but haven't had the right constellation of folks to make it happen. But that's the kind of thing we'd love to see. So if any of this sounds interesting to you, you are very welcome to join us. You don't have to be a gardener. You can learn as you go, right? That's what we all do. So our next meeting, I suppose I'll put this in the chat. How about that? I will put this into everybody. So our nickname is CGUA. And our next meeting, I'm going to type in the chat and then I will hit send here. Just a second. Typing slowly so you can actually read it. Almost there. There. Okay, so our next meeting, put in the chat, Thursday, September 17th, 3 o'clock to 4:30. Like everything else right now, it will be online via Zoom. It's going to be set up via my Zoom. So if you would like to either attend this meeting or get added to our email list to find out about future meetings and so forth, you can contact me at the email I just put in the chat. Okay? Thanks, everybody. Sorry if I ran too long.
No, that's all great information, Dave. You guys have a lot of resources, again, that we want people to know about. So maybe some of you will also join or share with your friends about joining CGUA. Our next group, our next working group is the Children's Health Working Group. We have Vahista Usuri, and who is chef and co-founder of To Taste, and Alexandra Thurston, who is a co-chair of the working group. And she works with grants with the city of Fort Worth for her day job. And I'm going to turn it over to you guys.
Hi, everyone. I don't know if Alexandra, she's going to present after me. So I'll give y'all kind of a rundown of our group and what we're about, and talk a little bit about past projects. And then I'll turn it over to Alexandra and she'll talk about our big current project in our next meeting. So overall, our mission is very much centered around the mission of the Food Policy Council as a whole, but our focus is on children. So we want to improve access to healthy foods for children at home, restaurants, schools, and in the community. So our strategy is all about basically reaching children where they eat. So again, it'll be at home, it'll be at school or the community. So that could mean also daycares, after school programs, anywhere where they're being served food, and then in restaurants. So we tried to come up with kind of project ideas in each area. We haven't really done anything with home yet, but we have envisioned probably more like information materials that could be posted on the Tarrant County Food Policy website to provide to parents and caregivers on just nutrition ed and different things they can do to help improve their kids' diets at home. With schools, we really realized over the past years that, and it's not just schools, I should correct myself, sorry, schools and community organizations, we need help promoting summer feeding. So that's something that has been brought to the table multiple times. And last year we were kind of slow getting along to coming up with some ideas and programming. And then of course this year COVID-19 came in, so had some setbacks there. So we still haven't yet truly had the opportunity to sort of engage and figure out what we can do to help with summer feeding, to get word out there and make sure more kids are getting access to those meals. But I do see with COVID-19 continuing and the transition from schools doing a lot of virtual, there's going to be a lot of meal pickups in different situations. So there might be some crossover with how we learn to help just promote feeding in general, somehow carried over into the summertime. So lots of different ideas. We've also had a vision or a dream, like Dave said, I guess, to help improve the quality of some of the vended meals that are served to the children. Had the opportunity to see some in the past, and we thought that there could be some improvement there. So we have this vision of creating some sort of resource where maybe we take pictures of what's currently being served, and then how can we modify that to make it better and healthier for the children. So kind of a dream. It's a big project. We'll have to we'll get back to it after, again, kind of the COVID-19 pandemic. I don't know how to say it goes away. It's not going away, but once we sort of get back to normal and can meet and maybe get those foods prepared and take pictures and everything. And then we also do have in the works that we need to truthfully follow up on is a white paper to educate people just on the different children's feeding programs that are out there. We realized as a group when we all came together, people were knowledgeable sort of on the programs that they came from. So maybe like for me, for example, I've worked with school food service for most of my career. So I'm very knowledgeable on those programs, but I didn't necessarily know like what the food bank was fully doing. So there's other programs out there that even within our own group, we didn't all understand the ins and outs. So we have this white paper in the works, and we actually had an intern work on it last summer. So we need to circle back to it, but we've been really focused on another project, which I will now pass it over to Alexandra so she can talk about that. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, Vahista. Yes, I am Alexandra Thurston. Day job is with the City of Fort Worth. And the project that has wound up taking up most of our bandwidth is a menu certification program. And the goal of that program is to incentivize restaurants to offer healthier children's options, but also prioritize or highlight fruits, vegetables, lean protein, and whole grain options over the highly processed options that tend to be very popular on children's menus. And tying into what V was saying, we, even though it did kind of get backburnered a little bit, we continuously circle back to that idea of really promoting and making sure the community does know about all of the feeding programs that are available, because though we know that a lot of social services, including feeding, happens at school, there are also programs offered after school and during the summer that serve those same children. So that is something that you know, even though it's not what we're zooming in on right now, that is something that is definitely, we are aware of it, and it is on our list of, you know, priorities. We meet on the third Tuesdays of even months, which puts our next meeting on August 18th at 1 p.m. That is conducted via WebEx. And if you are interested in that, you can contact V or myself, and we'll drop our contact information in the chat box. And so that can be if you work for an organization that is involved with, you know, child nutrition, or even if it's something that you're passionate about. We can always use more passionate people. Thank you so much.
Thanks to you both for that update and that report. So much good work happening within this Food Policy Council by people who are just passionate about the topics and who want to see more things happening. Okay, next up we have Food Recovery Working Group, and Gina Hill is going to bring us an update.
First, let me ask, can you hear me? Okay, yay,
yes.
Celebration. Okay, I have my child's headphones on, so that's why they're like barely perched on my head. So I am representing the Food Recovery Working Group, which I co-lead, and the purpose of our group is to educate, connect, and empower communities to become food recovery champions. Many people are not aware that about 40% of the food that's produced in the United States actually is thrown away, and most of that goes to the landfills. So our efforts are basically to end food waste in our communities and hopefully get most of that food to people that can eat it, right? And of course, we ought to also divert it from landfills. So composting is a big thing in our group, but that's still, if you've ever seen that food pyramid, the inverted pyramid about waste, the composting is kind of last on the list before the landfill. So some of our past projects have involved things like supporting the city of Fort Worth when they began the composting pilot in the city. We also implemented a recycling food waste composting pilot program in an elementary school in Fort Worth, which was very much a group effort with our entire working group, because we had a lot of volunteer hours that our members actually helped and went to the school and educated the kids while we were getting this working from the ground up. We had a successful film screening. Soria, whose face is on the screen right now, was in charge of that with some assistance, but primarily Soria did that work, and it was a successful film screening. We had planned to do another one. Again, COVID interfered with some of those plans that we had, but that was last summer that we did that. We also have been working for some time on having a food pledge to reduce waste in our community and just to increase that education component. So one of the cool things about our group, as Vahista and Alexandra and David have mentioned about their groups as well, is that we have a variety of people working in our group. So we have representatives from the city of Fort Worth, the city of Rowlett. We have Fort Worth ISD representatives, people from different food pantries, Tarrant County Public Health. I teach at TCU in the Department of Nutritional Sciences. We also involve the students that are members of a campus organization called Food Recovery Network. And so just with all of these different collaborators, we wind up making really important connections that allow us to get projects done that none of us could actually do on our own. So I'm going to tell you a few projects going on and upcoming things, but if people are interested in joining and they have the desire to see decreases in food insecurity and decreases in food waste and just helping address some environmental issues that go along with food waste, then we would love to have you join. And you do not have to be an expert. but more than likely there's someone who knows a lot about it that's a part of the committee and can help get some of these projects started. So some of the things we currently have going on, or some of the successes so far, we did have that North Highmount project, which was the first elementary school, and we had a second elementary school, which is South Highmount, that had a composting program as well. That was a success. I don't think these projects are going to continue this fall, simply because of logistical issues when the schools go back into session. Most of the kids will be having their meals in the classroom. And so that kind of complicates matters as far as having composting in the cafeteria. And most of the schools are also not going to allow volunteers. And this is kind of a volunteer necessity kind of thing going on. But hopefully when we have some normalcy return, we'll expand on those food waste and recycling programs in the school setting. We also are currently doing a survey, which is a collaboration between TCU, Nutritional Sciences, and the City of Fort Worth, that just went out Monday. So if you're a participant in the city's compost program, you might have gotten an email asking you to participate in a survey. And so far we've had 280 responses, and it's basically a survey looking at people's behaviors and attitudes about, composting and such. We have probably, hopefully when we get back together, we'll start our meetings again next week after a break, and hopefully we'll start working on a food pledge again. So if you are computer savvy or you know someone who is, that would be a great place to jump in. And we need volunteers with the city for non-contact pickup of food waste from businesses and restaurants that can go to urban farms, learning gardens, etc. And Dave actually touched on that, so I think there's a little bit of overlap between our groups on some of these projects. So those are some different places to jump in, and if you have some great idea that has to do with food waste, we're also always willing and ready to take on projects that someone feels passionate about to lead, and then we can support you any way we can on that. Any questions? Okay, our next meeting is August 12th from 10 to 11. I will type that in the chat, and I'll type my email address in there as well. So if you do have questions about how to get the Zoom link for that, I'll be happy to add you to our email list. Thank you.
Thank you, Gina. Appreciate that. Our last working group is the Healthy Food Retail Working Group. Victoria, do you have some things to share? Victoria is the chair of that working group.
Yes, I do. And I can actually share my screen, Micheline, real quick. Thank you. Let's see. Okay, I guess I have to share an actual screen here. So let's get that thrown up there. Okay, so welcome to our Healthy Food Retail Working Group. This is a group that kind of puts the big P policy into the Tarrant County Food Policy Council in terms of helping to enact and advocate for formal policies at the state, local, and county levels that will advance access to healthy food for Tarrant County citizens. And so that could look like increasing access to grocery stores, corner stores, anywhere you can really buy food. That's the practical focus of this Healthy Food Retail Working Group. Of course, it's not just about policy as to where you can buy food. Everything else that we've talked about today has a policy implication, I would say. And so definitely our Food Policy Council can work on not just retail policies, but anything. But this is the working group that we established last year. And the purpose of it, like I said, was to increase access to healthy food retail options, including promoting and implementing existing programs in underserved communities in Tarrant County, and as well looking at what else we could do together. And so the reason this is a little, like, to me, it's a little vague right now is because the group is inactive right now, and we're really hoping to get this started again. It went on maternity leave when I did, basically, and so we really want to look for ways that we can support initiatives that are going on right now, and to look at as a group really taking action together, because it's no one's real day job to pass the policies in terms of our board and our membership, but we know that it's important to change the system so that we can make life better for Tarrant County residents. And so a couple things that we've worked on in the past is we supported, and we're still supporting, implementation of the Fort Worth Healthy Food Financing Initiative. And so the reason I brought up this map is this is USDA's Economic Research Service Food Access Research Atlas. And this is like the Bible for those of us who work on healthy food retail. And there are lots of maps that show where you can buy local food and healthy food here in Fort Worth. And this map shows basically the areas that are known as food deserts, which I think everybody on this call is familiar with. And so, you know, you can kind of drill down and see that these are the areas in Tarrant County that really need access to grocery stores. And you might find some things that surprise you. For example, up in the South Lake and Grapevine area, closer to where I live, there's actually a food desert up here. So that might not be the first area you think of. And this does take into account income as well as proximity to a grocery store. And so we are not just talking about families who are more affluent who can drive far to a grocery store and it doesn't matter. It's kind of covers that spectrum. And so when you really look at this map, like this is the purpose not only of our Food Policy Council, but also this working group, is to say, how can we fix this? And so I'll just stop sharing and kind of come back to our conversation here. So the Healthy Food Financing Initiative in the city of Fort Worth is what set out to solve that problem that I just showed you, but just for the city of Fort Worth. So an example of something this group could work on is a healthy food financing initiative to support healthy food retail projects in other cities in our county, or perhaps at the county level. So that's something that we could work on together in the future, since this group has been supportive of such a program. And then another one initiative that we worked on last year was supporting the advocacy efforts for a healthy food option in public places, which is really making sure that city-owned vending is healthy. And so that is still in the works, and that's something that we could raise our voice on and support if we wanted to as well. But it doesn't stop there. Like, we can support expansion of SNAP incentives, early childcare setting, healthy food availability, and really anything around food insecurity. And so that seems like, to me, just so much to cover, but I really wanted to share that with you guys today. And really the take-home message would be, if you're interested in working on policy work, whether or not it's related to food retail, I'll put my email here in the chat. And what we're going to do is call together the group with anyone who's interested, as well as current work group members, to let them know, just to bring us together to look at the scope of this group and make sure that we're setting off in the right direction for the rest of 2020, 2021 in the future. So once we get enough interest, we'll call a meeting and we can decide, you know, is this the direction we want to be taking our policy work? Do we want to expand it past the retail setting and kind of go from there? So.
Okay, thank you, Victoria. We are kind of coming up close to the end of our 1 hour, but I hope you all stick with us for the last part. This is an important part of the meeting. I have some feedback going on somewhere. I'm going to turn it over to Soria right now to talk about board openings on the board of the Food Policy Council, and voting and how that works. I think if you are not one of the people that spoke and you have something you want to share with the group, please put that into the chat. I'm not sure we're going to have time to share openly together today, but if you'll put it in the chat, then we can make sure that gets out to members. going forward through email and that kind of thing. So Soria, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great, and I went ahead and I put my email and information in the chat box, but as y'all may know, we are announcing this year's nominations for the Tarrant County Food Policy Council Board. So we meet every other month, the first Thursday from 4 to 5, and we are looking for members to join us as on the board, as well as help with our working groups that we just mentioned, as far as looking for chairs and co-chairs. And again, you know, as Dave mentioned, we are all volunteers, so you know, this is an opportunity to bring in, you know, more hands to help, but as well as bring in diverse experience and backgrounds. You know, we kind of all have these different little silos, so this is really kind of everyone to bring everyone together to work holistically towards better food systems. So I'm asking that everyone submit their, just email me saying, hey, I would like to be nominated, or I would like to nominate someone else to serve on the board, and I can reach out to them. I will follow up with them after September 4th and ask for just a short bio, a couple sentences, why they would like to be on the board, and how they think they could be able to, how you'd be able to contribute. After that, October 1st, we will have our general meeting where we'll be voting on the full slate of nominations. And prior to then, I will be announcing how many open board seats we have at that time. So at this time, we don't have an exact estimate, but we do know there are going to be numerous openings available.
So folks should, if you're interested, again, you should email Soria. Her email is in the chat. Please do so by Friday, September 4th, if you're interested in being part of the board for the Food Policy Council. And again, the council, like this meeting is the council meeting, it's every other month. The board is the other every other months. So it's you end up with a monthly responsibility, essentially, if you join the board. Are there any questions that anybody has for any of the speakers? I know each of the working groups gave several different places for you to get involved. We'd love to have some more folks involved in the working groups. Feel free to pass that on to your friends and colleagues. If you know somebody who might be interested in getting involved in one of those topic areas. And let me see what I'm missing here. Again, we want to thank Raquel and Chelsea for being with us today. And let's see. I think that is all. Am I missing anything, you guys?
Maybe if anybody has any announcements of upcoming stuff that might be relevant.
We have a couple minutes for announcements if anybody has anything. I will say the Farm and Ranch Freedom Alliance conference and the Texas Organic Farmers and Gardeners conferences are going to be online this year. So if you're interested in learning more about policy and about growing food as a farmer, then that's a great way to get engaged in those. And it'll be virtual, it'll be lower cost, all that kind of stuff. It's a great time to get involved. Others?
So this isn't, I guess, Tarrant County, but just worth noting that Dallas County CARES team has submitted a proposal to the Commissioner's Court to start a Dallas County Food Pantry Assistance Program. So that would offer assistance to organizations who have been in business since March 2019, so at least a year, but up to $15,000 is what's currently being proposed. I don't think it has been approved yet by the commissioners. But that can go towards not just food, but refrigeration, transport, distribution costs that are related to COVID-19 increase. So that's something that is sent to the Commissioner's Court that they will be voting on, but this was Dallas County.
So that's for food pantries in Dallas County to have additional support?
Yes.
For storing and distributing food?
Yeah, as well as food itself.
Okay.
Alexandra?
Yes, we have some people in the room who could speak more to this, but I did notice an email saying that this year's Dallas Hunger Summit would be virtual.
Yes, that is.
To that.
Yeah, Catherine, go ahead.
I was going to say, Susie, you can too, since you are leading one of the webinar sessions. But yes, our Dallas Hunger Summit information just went out at 2 o'clock this afternoon in our Texas Hunger Initiative North Texas newsletter, but I'm happy to post the Eventbrite in the chat, and it will be starting September 18th or 17th, sorry, just off the top of my head. 18th, thank you. And it will be for 4 Fridays, we're going to have an hour and a half long session, and we'll be kicking it off with Malikia Kinney. We are excited. Our theme is food justice is not equal to just us, and we're going to be really focusing on that and have a lineup of great speakers. So please join us. We'd be happy for everyone to come virtually.
Yeah, it's going to be a really great opportunity. You can catch a lot of different stuff, and you only have to commit a couple hours on a Friday for 4 Fridays. Yes.
Catherine,
no, go for it.
Do you know yet if there will be a virtual equivalent to the conference that's usually at Baylor, or the summit that's usually in Waco in October?
That is currently to be determined. If anyone wasn't aware, Baylor Collaborative on Hunger and Poverty, our overhead organization for Texas Hunger News, spent all summer running a rural food delivery program for kids. And so we have been busy doing that, and that program's just wrapping up. And we have started talks with Summit, and it's really dependent upon the COVID crisis and where everything is. So I will keep everyone updated as I know.
Very good. Other announcements, things you want to share? All right. If not, we will wrap up for today. Be sure to check out the website and Facebook and follow the working groups in their work by joining their meetings and getting involved, or at least staying tuned with emails and things like that we send out. Our next meeting will be in October. And again, if you're interested in being a part of the board and being in the decision-making group, then please let Soria know that you're interested in that. All right, I want to thank everyone for attending, and we will see you next time.